Hey travelers, let me ask you a question. Does 7 countries in 14 days sound like an awesome summertime adventure or like 7 circles of hell? Well, for my daughter and I, we thought it would be the perfect adventure to celebrate her final year of high school before she went off to college. So we decided to hit a bunch of different spots in short chunks, which we know is not for everybody, but we go to Amsterdam, Brussels, Ljubljana, Bratislava, Prague, Vienna, Paris. We bounce all over. We experience a lot of different parts. We send postcards from all of our destinations back home, and we track how much we spend every day. So if you're interested in this, come along with us. We're going to show you the first 3 days as we travel from Detroit to Boston to Amsterdam, and then dive right in, experiencing the best of Europe. Come along with us. Hey travelers, that's me, Brian, also known as the OCD Traveler. And that's my beautiful daughter, Maddie. As you can probably tell, Maddie just graduated from high school. And before she leaves me forever, we decided to take an epic trip. Only backpacks, 14 days, 7 countries, traveling Europe, and you're invited. So let's go. This is part 1, travel day. And so it begins. We have 2 backpacks and 2 personal items, and we are ready to rock pretty soon. Well, now that our bags are packed up in the great state of Michigan, we've got to load up the car. We're going to take my daughter's little Subaru. We're going to go from Grand Rapids on the west side of the state over to Detroit. Well, kind of Detroit to Detroit Metro Airport. Hey, travelers, it's Brian, the OCD Traveler, and I'm with
Maddie.
And we are starting our European adventure. We just left home. Maddie is driving us, and I'm going to do some work as we go from Grand Rapids to Detroit. We go from Detroit to Boston, and then Boston to Amsterdam. To kick things off, we're actually going to my parents' house first in Metro Detroit. Maddie has her first academic advising session with Michigan State University. So we're going to do that. It is a jam-packed day as I try to do some work. And then later on, we will relax once we're lying flat in our Mint suites on JetBlue. But right now, it's a 2-hour drive to Detroit. Learning how to drive in the Motor City definitely made me aggressive, so after about an hour of backseat driving, we stopped at Dunkin' Donuts and I took over driving duties. So at Dunkin', we fueled up with an eclair, the custard kind, not that white powder crap, a sourdough egg sandwich, a coffee, and it was $10.45, and they were back on the road. After another hour on the road, we stopped by my parents' house. Mandy did her first ever academic advising session with Michigan State. She filled her fall schedule in. And then we were back on the road to the Dearborn Doubletree Hotel, where we're going to park for only $5 a day versus 15 to 20 at the airport. And here we are at the Doubletree. All right, part 2 of the adventure. We got the car dropped off here, about 20 minutes away from the airport. We're going to walk over to our Uber, I hope. Good news is it's like 90 degrees and probably 100% humidity. So lovely day. We're waiting for Mackenzie in a black XT5 to take us to the airport. That's probably extremely close up. Good. How about you? The ride with Mackenzie was pretty uneventful aside from his XT5, which is kind of a Cadillac crossover. Sounded like it was about to explode. I think his transmission is going. It's one of those continuous flow transmissions. And when he revved, it sounded like it was a plane about to take off. But in total, it was a $13.16 trip. And then when we got to the airport, we didn't have to check luggage. We were all checked in because we're just carry-on. So we made it through the TSA, which proved to be a little bit of a crap show. And pretty much the worst TSA process ever. Belts broke down. People were yelling TSA pre-check. We still got to move 3 cartons of stuff to 2 different lanes. It was a lot of fun. Not a lot of smiles, but we are looking for a lounge now. Try to get in here. We're going to attempt to use our Priority Pass lounge card. It rarely works, but here goes.
We're on the other side, baby.
We're rejected for half an hour. I have a blackout period till 4 o'clock, so now we can go to Nita's Kitchen. Of course, we are here. We have to go where? D24. Ready?
How fun.
All right, let's go. All right, attempt number 2 at Anita's Kitchen. If you don't know about Priority Pass, it's a lounge access card that comes with some premium cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve as well as the Amex Platinum. Now, if you have with the Chase Sapphire Reserve until July 1st of 2024, it actually covers restaurants like Anita's Kitchen. So when we go there and show our Priority Pass card, we'll each get a $28 food and beverage voucher, which should completely cover our meal. But of course, they're ending that perk as of July 1st. Anita's Kitchen's a Metro Detroit staple. It serves Lebanese food, so we each got a shawarma, which we love. So hot take, I think we might already have our weirdest, strangest thing that happened.
Bathroom?
You knew that my man's car sounded like it was going to explode. Is it over?
I thought it was fine.
No, what? His check engine light was on. His check engine light was on, and it sounded. You didn't hear going. Are you kidding?
This kid just like
No.
speeding up. I didn't think.
I think his transmission's about to go. Oh, well, teacher and I thought my man's car was about to explode. You can see Maddie didn't quite see it that way, but soon enough, our shawarmas were out. So let's take a look, take a test. See how that does with my $28 credit. You chew.
Really good though.
I called it shawarma. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Don't talk with your mouth full, dude. Didn't your mom teach you any manners? Of course she did. But within a couple of minutes, our plane was at the gate and started to board. So in we got. Now, I never noticed this before. My daughter always touches the plane before she boards a plane. Do you do that? Tell me in the comment section below. But we quickly found our seats in row 7. This was a 2-2 plane, so relatively small Embraer 190. And what's weird about this is we did book Mosaic, so front of the seat, business class on the transatlantic portion, but they didn't carry those benefits through to the domestic transfer from Detroit to Boston. So we still had to get kind of basic economy seats. But as you can see, I'm disgusted by airplanes, so I wiped it down with a lot of Purell and love. But here we are in seats 7A and 7B with our backpacks overhead.
Is it shut?
Yep, no, not yet. So we are a little bit late to go to Boston. Sure, we're late, but plenty of time to take a selfie for mom, and soon we're in the air.
Turn on automatically in one. Never inflate the vest.
And just like that, we have liftoff for about the hour and 20 minutes it'll take to get over to Boston. Say what you will about JetBlue, but one thing I love is the fact that all of their planes have those in-flight TVs, and they do give you the full can of pop, even at an hour, and then come around with a snack basket so you can take whatever you want, as opposed to just pretzels or peanuts. So not only were we living it up in our seats, but also living it up in the spacious lavatory. Always got to show you the lovely lavatories on board. So a quick flight into dreary Boston, but it's awesome to land there and look at everything around the coastline. And now we're in terminal.
Now open your B40.
We've had the Chase Sapphire Reserve card since its inception, I think in 2016 or 2017, and it really got us started on a lot of our better travel. So we were excited to be able to experience the Chase Sapphire Reserve Lounge. I think the only one that they have in the country, but we're looking all over Boston Logan for it. Initially, Boston Logan looked like a pretty tired airport, but we got into this new section. It looked a lot nicer. And we found the Chase Sapphire Reserve Lounge, and lucky us, it was right across the hall from our gate. They did tell us it would be about a 30-minute wait to get in, but they called us within 5 minutes. So that was great, and we were in the elevator. We checked in, got the Wi-Fi password, and then found ourselves a seat. As you can see here, there is a QR code at your table, or if you scan that, you can actually order food. You can order beverages. Unfortunately, our first food and beverage order was completely lost, so we had to reorder it, but it was a nice, convenient option. As you can see, the lounge is nice and modern and open and airy, and I liked it a lot better than the Amex Centurion lounges I've been to. I'm sure that'll be a controversial take. Now we wait. You can see second from the top there, flight 631, 10:34 p.m. departure to Amsterdam on JetBlue. I don't want to make this weird, so not a lot of bathroom footage. What I will tell you is people were signing up to take showers all night long, so that's an option there too. And we eventually got our food orders. I got a meatball sub. My daughter got children's chicken fingers and fries. She loved her poppy. I had a great mixed drink, but we were having a good time being out of the crowds. And after we enjoyed our light meal, I pulled up YouTube and started looking at instructions for Holify. Now, I'm not going to give you a big sales pitch on Holofly, but what I can tell you is for less than $80, my daughter and I got unlimited access throughout Europe. I'll give you a link below that'll save you 5%. There is one step that they don't share that did kind of bite me in the rear end, but let me know in the comment section if it's something you think I should take more time with, but I highly recommend it. Cheers.
What is that?
Some sort of a bourbon drink. We're in the Sapphire Reserve Lounge now, and they missed our order the first time, but she's getting chicken fingers and fries and a meatball sandwich, and I thought especially a bourbon drink, the dried orange on the top. That's Poppy. What do you have?
Brownie bites and Rice Krispie treats.
Soon our time in the lounge drew to an end, so we headed back down the elevator. I will admit, I am guilty of being one of those guys that wants to be one of the first on the plane, especially when I'm flying in business class. I want to maximize the amount of time that I have. But luckily, it was a quick walk across the gate. We're ready to load. And there she is, the plane that's going to take us over to Amsterdam on about an 8-hour flight, but not before we get a selfie at the gate to send back home to mom. And then down the jet bridge we go, passports in hand. A quick little tap on the side of the plane, as I pointed out earlier, and we are on board our JetBlue A321neo. All right, now before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about the JetBlue Mint experience. Starting with the obvious, we know that we are extremely fortunate enough to be doing this, and not everyone can, so we are blessed and we're thankful. But I truly validate the spend because it maximizes my vacation. I will land more refreshed than if I tried to sleep in economy, but you'll see me be very cheap in other parts of the trip. But JetBlue Mint is kind of unique in that it's on a narrow-body plane in a 1-1 configuration. While booking, you have the choice between the Mint Studio, which is a $199 or more upgrade. It was $299 for our flight, or the Standard Suite. Both are excellent options, and you just saw pictures of both.
I'm going to have to come back by you for...
Yep, don't mind me. That was me strategizing how to put our bags in the overhead. It's crazy. I'm crazy. But here I am sitting down. We had the first 2 seats, row 1, row 2. I'm just starting to get accustomed to everything that my studio has to offer, including slippers and that little locker that only the studio, those up front seats, will have. And shortly thereafter, the flight attendant came to offer drinks.
How are you?
My name is gonna be working with. I see that your first time with them.
It is.
Yes, okay. You had this wonderful suite,
Yes.
and you had a lot of amenities here. You had a separate table for because somebody wanted
Yep.
to stand there.
It's my daughter right here.
She can sit here and join you for dinner.
Okay.
And later she can go back have her nap.
Okay.
So yes, the only safety feature about this specific seat is the shoulder harness.
We're taking-
Only for need for takeoff and landing. Okay.
We don't have the cool bags. Did they have I thought they upgraded the bags. No.
No, they're probably the shortest and they put in.
Okay,
They're
gotcha.
supposed to be
All good.
something else.
Okay.
I know which one you want.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry about
Which one is champagne or
champagne with elderberry and seltzer water and champagne. Which one you prefer?
instead of the elderberry?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Let me put this one here, and here you go.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. So my name is asking. It's a red eye, so it's a fit menu. Just start to place your order. Let me know if you're gonna join us for dinner.
Okay.
Or you want to start.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So the flight attendants were great. Couple of things you probably heard. First, there's a little jumper seat, so if Maddie wants to, she can come sit next to me at dinner. We didn't do that. She also showed me that you had to have the shoulder strap on during takeoff. And then last, they did upgrade their vanity kit bags. They said on LinkedIn that they were out there and available. They're not.
They started coming out. I don't think it
What's that?
They started moving by
I know, first world problems. Maddie's trying to figure out the seat, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other amenities that Mint has to offer. Tell me in the comments section, do you hate it when people take their shoes and socks off on board? I certainly did. It was nice, however, to be able to take your shoes off, put on their comfy socks and their really comfortable slippers while you're lounging around after a day of a lot of walking. But the most difficult part of the day is over, so it was time to say cheers to takeoff. But Maddie first was looking at some of the things included in the amenity kit.
Did you see this?
Cheers. Cheers. Sparkling water.
Yeah, like seltzer water. Ooh. There's like something in it.
Probably out.
And you an entire locker.
One thing about this narrow body, shorter plane is you don't have the 2 entry doors, so a lot of times economy will enter through a different door, which makes it less awkward for people to pass you by. But you can see I was testing out the door's locked until takeoff. It's got this nice adjustable TV screen, which came in handy. It does have a nice drawer as well that'll fit up to a 16-inch laptop and some of your cords. So they did think of quite a bunch of things. You can see that the locker, including my OCD traveler hat, is just in those two front seats, one on the left, one on the right. Then right by your right armrest, they've got a spot for water. They did supply nice water. Another compartment there if you wanted to put some cords or things that you wanted quick access to. And then a wireless charging platform, which kind of sort of work. They never work great, do they? And there's a better look inside that compartment next to the water bottle. There's the seat that Maddie could sit in for dinner if she wanted to. And we'll close up the locker. And looking over to the side, you can see that they do have some headphones, some noise-canceling headphones that we will check out later, and two different outlets or charging points. There's a little draw-out table that I'll use for dinner, but a very well-designed studio suite. I really enjoyed the Mint experience. And as we get closer, you can see I've got the shoulder strap on, and then you can use your cell phone as a remote for the TV. I actually never used that. There's also a retractable remote to your left, and the TV is touchscreen, so a bunch of different options. JetBlue allows free Wi-Fi. You have to watch an advertisement, but it's well worth it. It's not great, but it's certainly better than not having any at all. And then up next, I will go ahead and start ordering my meals through the touchscreen. That was a nice, convenient option as well. You can see it does allow for two different meals. The main meal, which is right after takeoff, and then pre-arrival about 90 minutes to 2 hours before. It makes it look like you're placing an order for meal, but with the Savor and Sleep, they're just going to bring out a standard plate as long as you want it, don't want to sleep. It's always weird having a big heavy meal at 11 or 11:30 and then trying to go to sleep, but I did go through the order up section for dinner. And then for your pre-arrival meal, you can skip. You can order actual, I guess, entrees, or you can get it to go. My daughter got it to go. Maddie got it to go. It was not very good. And then as you can see, I will go ahead and order up this coconut yogurt, and then we'll try the frittata as well. And then get all of that ordered in, which they will later confirm in person. And then after typing in the name OCD Traveler, I go ahead and submit, and then they will take that order. They come around and ask you what we'd like to drink. So that's the personal bit of service, and then they confirm that they have the order that you put in.
And boarding is complete. And flight crew members, please prepare for departure.
Yeah, baby, it's takeoff time. Let's get out of the United States and over into Europe before we take off. Of course, business class or not, I'm still going to give this a Clorox wipe down just to make sure everything's as clean as I can get it before they start bringing out the food. And as we neared takeoff, I did test out the noise-canceling headphones that they give you. The infotainment center had live TV, TV shows, a host of movies. Their infotainment system was quite good. Definitely something for everybody. And then you might find this a little corny, but with the overhead lights turned off, you can see there's a nice little reading light. There's also a mood light, that little green button with that light switch next to it. You can change the color that's kind of presented within your suite while things are dimmed. A green option, a calming blue, more of a red tone, an amber, a purple. It was a really cool feature that you probably don't need in your life, but it was nice to have. And here's a quick scan through the menu. You can see they've got some mixed drinks. They also have seltzers and beer, liquor, as well as a pretty decent wine list if you're into wine. And then they do have the food menu as well, even though that's all available through your infotainment system. Just kind of gives you a background on how they inspired the dishes and then what they will be serving. There's no doubt I've seen a more extensive menu on Qatar Airlines, for example, but this was more than enough to get us through the night. As I get that light turned off, isn't this a nice calming blue that I'm enjoying? Maddie's back there watching something on TV, and we are ready to get this plane off the ground. You can see we are taxiing. Let's take off. Look, no one said my time lapse to my GoPro was going to be perfect, but we are in the air. Now that we're in the air, I was attempting to close the door on my studio, but they actually have to unlock it from the outside first. No big shakes. JetBlue Mint does feature Tuft Needle. That's a premium bedding maker. Comes with both a memory foam pillow, which is great, as well as a comforter that you can see has a bunch of different functions. You can do a foot nook, some sort of an apron. I didn't do any of that. I just use it as a blanket, but it's kind of cool little niche thing. Not too long after takeoff, I did have their Aperol Spritz, and they brought out some nuts, which were not warmed. And then they brought out all the food at once. A farro salad, cavatelli, some sort of a pasta with tomato sauce, and then a pretty dry rough chicken, as well as bread. And then for dessert, a vanilla gelato that had some preserved blackberries and almond crunch on top. Now that was delicious. All in all, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And then with dinner done, let's take a look at the amenity kit. So they do provide some nice earplugs, which trust me, I take advantage of. And next up, a face wipe just to get you cleaned up before you go to bed. A rather disgusting energy liquid that I will try in the morning but don't recommend. A toothbrush and some toothpaste that I can assure you ripped up my gums but still did the job. And then some lip treatment, which Maddie absolutely loved. And what I'm not showing is an eye mask. The eye mask was actually quite good, really good quality, but I'm going to go ahead here and brush my teeth and call it a night. As I brush my teeth and head to the lavatory, one word of caution, make sure you put your shoes back on. Don't take your slippers into the lavatory. It's just gross. With the bed in full recline, earplugs in, we'll get the eye mask on and get a couple hours of sleep.
I want 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours indoors.
So about 4 hours later, you can see we've moved all the way outside the coast of Ireland. So we're getting closer and closer to our destination of Amsterdam, and we are high above those clouds. Just as they promised, about 90 minutes before we touched down, they served breakfast. I know you're not supposed to drink coffee on a flight, but I can't help myself. There's a frittata, there's the parfait, a nice croissant. Let's dig in. Again, I won't make you watch this whole thing. Speeding right along through this, I will say breakfast was pretty darn good. I didn't get any kind of alcohol, had my coffee, had some water. Maddie did get the to-go breakfast, which she was quite disappointed by. Here's a look at the coastline. You can see it way in the distance there and some of those ferries down below. And then we get closer and closer as I start to pack up the suite. There it is. There's Amsterdam, or at least the Netherlands. And still closer yet, there is the beach. There is ground. Getting closer, we're completely over land. So 18 hours later at 10:40 a.m. local time, we land at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, which I know I said completely wrong, but we are here. So let's recap the day. Good morning from Amsterdam. Tired?
I was good when I woke up and I'm a little sleepy.
How long do you think you slept?
4.5 hours?
4.5 hours. What was the best thing you ate yesterday?
That's food in the lounge.
Food in the lounge? The chicken
Oh
fingers?
no, the
Shawarma.
shawarma yesterday.
Shawarma's at Anita's kitchen. Most interesting thing that happened, weirdest thing, was what?
You said the car.
I think the car, that or the TSA debacle, which you weren't even a part of. And then, what was the other part? Best thing we did, probably just experience business-wise.
Yeah, that's probably the nicest we've been on so well.
Yeah?
We've been on so
Okay.
far, yeah.
Yeah, JetBlue Mint was well worth it. So now we're going to go past immigrations, get our public transportation tickets, and stow our luggage for a couple hours. We have a train in about 3 hours. We got time to kill. And with that, we welcome you to day 2, where we go to Amsterdam and Brussels. After landing at 10:45 a.m., we found ourselves in the baggage claim at about 11:45 a.m. After passing customs and immigration. We don't have to get bags, just some public transportation tickets. All right, so we got our vouchers for 3 days of Amsterdam travel. Right inside the baggage belt. So we opted for a transport ticket called the Amsterdam Travel Ticket. They were 72-hour tickets that included trains, buses, subways, allegedly everything we needed for about $10 per person per day. We later found out that there were some complications. But first, we've got to go store some luggage in the luggage storage. Although U.S. airports banned luggage storage after 9/11, European airports still have them. So at Schiphol Airport, it's nice and easily. You go downstairs right by arrivals too to store luggage. All right, we are in the basement of the Amsterdam airport, getting ready for putting our stuff into storage. So we have 2 backpacks. So speeding through this, I was fortunate enough to get one of 5 advanced copies of the Tortuga Day Pack Pro, and I'll go ahead and link that in the description. But it's a waterproof, fold flat, less than a pound day pack that goes nice and easily into your travel backpack. So I packed that up, and we're ready to roll. Yeah, we're ready to rock this bad boy. Ready to rock?
Click the top button.
Yeah. It was an awesome time to be in Europe. There's some Irish guys in town for the Euros, but we patiently waited for our turn to drop off our bags. Dropping off 2 bags.
Bill.
Prices were pretty darn reasonable. You can see €6 for kind of a carry-on size suitcase. For a larger suitcase, it would cost you €9, and those are both for 24 hours.
2 times €6 you pay when you collect.
Okay.
The tickets for you.
Just in case you couldn't make that out, she said 2 times €6 you'll pay when you collect. And then she printed up the tickets and we were on our way.
Thank you so much.
As I exit the luggage storage, tell me in the comment sections, how do you pronounce Schiphol Airport? Schiphol, Schiphol. I have to say, though, the airport is laid out really well in the arrival hall. You can see there's all sorts of eating options. They've got luggage storage. And then directly adjacent to it is a major bus station, train station, and subway station. So everything is really conveniently located. So right now we've got our public transportation passes and we're trying to get to the city center, the waterfront area. So we're headed to Amsterdam Central Station. You can see on my phone that the current time is 12:06 p.m. We want to be back at Schiphol Airport at about 2:30 for a 3 o'clock departure to Brussels and from the train station directly in the airport. No, nobody wants to spend a vacation in Europe on their cell phone, but think of Holofly or another plan to get data because Google Maps makes it so easy to use public transportation. That's exactly what we're doing. We're looking for an intercity connection, they call it, to take us directly to the central station. And although it seemed like a lot of Europe was going through a little bit of a heat wave, it was certainly not the case when we were in Amsterdam. So you can see Maddie putting on her Scotty vest, travel jacket. This is a windbreaker. I have a 3D jacket. Both are waterproof. Both conveniently pack up to a pouch. They have a bunch of different pockets in it, which makes it easy to organize gear as well as protect yourself from pickpockets. But the temperatures were struggling to get into 70 degrees. It was about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And there was rain, so Maddie did the smart thing here and threw on a jacket. And before long, there it is, our tram into the city, our train into the city, I should say. Intercity Direct or Sprinter, it's called both of those. There's a look at what it looks like on Google Maps. About a 15 to 20 minute ride into Amsterdam Central. So at this point in time, it would be 6 a.m. or so, our local time, and we had been going for a straight 24 hours with only about 4.5 hours worth of sleep. So definitely feeling the effects of fatigue as we pull into Amsterdam Central Station, but still excited to explore nonetheless. And then we hustle off the train and out of Amsterdam Central to the waterfront, which overlooks the gap to Amsterdam North, which you can take a ferry over to if you want.
Beautiful out here. Pancakes?
I have no idea why I said pancakes, but next I'm going to talk about that building to the left that has the square on top. There's actually swings with people swinging out over the edge.
Look up there.
What is it?
They're on like swings. You want to go on swings? No?
Those.
So those are actually Europe's highest over-the-edge swings at the Atomium Tower. There's a reverse look, but she and I were not feeling it.
Should we walk down there? Probably to get where you want to go.
Let me see where it's at.
So with really only 3 hours before our train left, we couldn't do that much, but still wanted to explore a little bit.
Welcome to Amsterdam. All right, so we're headed to Dam Square right now.
Amsterdam is known to be a bike city, but I thought this was awesome. Look at this ramp coming up from the subway. There's a track to bring your bike up with you. I know. I get impressed easy, but I thought that was really cool. But speaking of impressed easy, look at this beautiful tile painting.
This is just in a tunnel underneath the Amsterdam Central train station, but look at the mosaic here. Not a mosaic, you're a lot of tiles.
And speeding this up, we passed a couple of different canals and things on our way over to the Dam Square area. I had to pause for a picture of Mickey D's. My son loves European McDonald's. And then we stopped for a little selfie in front of this picturesque little canal. And then I was really taken by this, TK Maxx. We love TJ Maxx. I hate to admit it, but I did not realize it's TK in Europe. So we went in.
We are in TK Maxx, not TJ Maxx. It's apparently TK outside of the U.S., which I didn't know. But we're killing time.
Don't worry, there's only like 15 seconds of TK Maxx footage. But my wife and I both worked here at some of our first jobs. Look at that, Versace loafers. Not necessarily something you would see in the States. But we'll bang through here. The biggest thing for me is this is very clean, very organized. So a little bit different than we were used to. But we were soon out of there and into beautiful Dam Square. There are few things more satisfying than hanging out in a beautiful European square. But here's one thing I can live without. A bunch of tourists were paying a guy to give them food and have pigeons land on them or feed pigeons. Absolutely disgusting. Was not something I was looking to do ever in my life. But hey, I get it. When in Rome or Amsterdam, But with not a lot of time to kill, we just kind of strolled through the square, and we eventually made our way over to the National Monument, which is, of course, a white stone pillar, which was erected in 1956 to memorialize the victims of World War II. If you don't believe my voiceover, let's go over to my heavy monotone in real time.
This is the National Monument, white travertine monument with relief sculpting the national site for the remembrance of World War II.
With only 45 minutes until my train missing paranoia would kick in, we just decided to kick back. We had a drink. Maddie had a Coke. I had a tropical IPA from an Oedipus Brewing Company at this beautiful little place called The Lobby. And then we were back on to Amsterdam Central Station to get us back to Schiphol Airport before our train took off at about 3:05.
It is.
Now, this kind of shocked me. We were only on the platform for 10 minutes or less before this train rolled up. So this is the train that's going to take us to Brussels Midi Station. We did have enough time. You can see that blue bag Maddie's got. That's got some snacks, some drinks in it for the train ride. But I'm really surprised I wasn't there well beforehand. But let's get on this train and hit Brussels. I'm happy to say that we were able to find our coach relatively easily. That can always be nerve-wracking. These trains can be really huge. This one wasn't that bad. We were dead in the middle. Coach number 4. And we had to find seats 33 and 34 after showing the conductor or the ticket person our tickets. All right, as we roll back, we did pass a couple of kids, which is always scary. Is it going to be noisy? Is it going to be fine? It was fine, but we quickly found our seats 33 and 34, got our bags stowed, and as usual, those European trains just take off. So make sure you are there and ready because they are not waiting for anyone. Look, we're living large. We got some pastries, some water from an Albert Heijn, like a little grocery convenience store in the train station. $15.99 as Maddie shows off the little meat pie she's eating. Don't worry, that's not going to impact her ability to sleep at all. And as I did a little bit of film editing and some file transferring, Maddie, well, she snoozed. She was tired out, and I don't blame her. But after a quick 90 minutes, we were in Brussels. Well, timing, as they say, is everything, and our timing was, well, rush hour. So pretty quickly, we wedged our way in for the second time in one day. We were navigating a new public transportation system, this time in Brussels. I have no recollection of buying passes, but I know I bought 4 tickets, 2 for Maddie, 2 for me. And what this ungroomed smile is hiding from you is major fatigue as we made our way over to the Meininger Hotel, Brussels City Center. Rated 4.3 on Google, kind of a hybrid between a hotel and a hostel. So we did get a private room. But as we rolled through Brussels, we were kind of surprised with how kind of rough it looked. But let me show you what I mean. So don't take offense and don't worry, it definitely gets better. But just kind of looking out at our hotel through this kind of muddy river, kind of industrial looking area, we were just kind of shocked. It wasn't your typical looking European city yet. We did find it later on, but initially we got a little bit nervous. But after a pretty quick walk over this bridge, we were over at the Meininger City Center Hotel. I have to admit, if I was a young person, this would be a lot more fun. Maddie loved it. Cool vibe out here. A lot of young travelers together. But we quickly went to check-in where I realized I had 2 reservations because I'm dumb for the same hotel. They were nice enough to cancel one of them and get us checked into our room. So we did have a private room with a private bathroom. It was $169.11, which for Brussels is an excellent deal. This was clearly some sort of a converted warehouse, but it was super clean, super modern. Really liked it. You can see we're heading into, I believe, room number 12. Yep, 12 is going to be separated into 2 different rooms in this little foyer. So we are on the left side. Let's take a quick little walk through in this room. The room certainly looked clean and smelled clean as well. We did have to put our key card in to activate the lights. There's a little changing area right behind those cement columns. You can see 3 different twin beds. I'm usually not in love with being on the ground floor. It was fine here. You can see the bedrolls are kind of that Scandinavian style. So a flat sheet goes down. There's no fitted sheet, and there's no separate flat sheet to go over your body. They just kind of tuck everything in there. There's a little closet. Again, kind of a changing area. Looks pretty industrial and modern, but very functional. And then as you go around the corner, there is going to be a sink and then a separate water closet as well as shower. Both of them worked very, very well and served our purposes. It was a great room overall. One more look inside the shower. Shower's a little bit goofy the way that those two corners connected. Some water would kind of fall out, but really love the fact that the room is clean. Love the white sheets. The room will serve us just fine, and for $169, you can't beat it. Well, no rest for the wicked or the weary. Within an hour, we were back on the streets trying to find a place to eat before our 8 p.m. walking tour. We found a place called the Belgian Buffalo we wanted to try, but 2 Ubers canceled on us. One was taking forever, so we said we'll just walk the mile to get there. By the time we got there, though, it was empty. Even though it was highly rated, we just started this major loop of going from restaurant to restaurant, looking at Google reviews, trying to find a place that would work, and eventually settled on a place called L'Homme à Chapeau, which I think means the man with a hat. There's a look at the surroundings as we sat cafe style. Maddie got a burger and I got mussels and frites. A Leffe blonde beer to start, and then a bottle of still water as we tried to hydrate ourselves. Here's a look at Maddie checking out her burger.
What are you doing?
Take a bite.
What?
Take a bite.
It's really messy though.
All right, 1 to 10. What's the word? 6.
8.
8.
The meal with Maddie was fun. Mussels, I'm not a huge mussels guy, but when in Rome, right? I did hear from Rick Steves that you've got to use the other shells as little tweezers, so you can see me doing that there masterfully. We both love the fact that we could eat fries with mayonnaise without it being taboo. Dinner ended up costing us $53 for my mussels, white sauce with fries, and Maddie's burger and fries, and a beer and some water. And then we started the very unpleasant mission of trying to find an ATM. We finally found one at a subway station after about 20 minutes and ended up being about 10 minutes late. So we arrived for our walking tour at 8:10. And this is where Brussels really shined. The main square where we met was gorgeous. We started to see these beautiful parts of the city. We used an app to book this called freetour.com. You can go to the website or download the app. So you just provide gratuities. It was called The Dark Side of Brussels, but really nothing too dark. Just talked a little bit about the death that happened in the area during medieval times. But it was a pretty decent tour. Lasted about 2.5 hours with a Croatian tour guide that took us all through the city and showed us many of the sights. And this is apparently famous Belgian singer Jacques Brel. Here's a really interesting juxtaposition between old and new. Bowling right next door. I think this is an old prison with the gallows that used to be nearby, and then that super contemporary building right next door. There's another look at some of the beautiful kind of closed-in city alleys. Just a very lovely city, so we're glad we kept an open mind and gave it a second chance because it definitely got more and more beautiful as the tour went on. There's a couple of shots of just some of the nice streets that we were talking about. Beautiful church off in the distance, and of course, clearly, Belgian chocolate is supposed to be some of the best in the world. We actually didn't have any while we were there, as crazy as that sounds. During our tour, we did come across some rallies, so it was a little bit interesting. A march. I won't get into the politics of it. What I thought was funny, though, is they actually approached us and told us to stop recording. A bunch of different people were recording the march, the protest, and they asked us not to record it, which I thought was pretty weird. Generally speaking, you're out protesting to show people your support for something, but apparently they did not agree with us taping it. But the protesters eventually found their way through the city streets, even though it was a little bit distracting to be on a tour as a huge event was going on next to you. We eventually found our way to a more modern place that's featured the Brussels Skywheel, which is referred to as the Polar Place Ferris wheel. And then directly next to that is the Palais de Justice, which is my 3 years of high school French. Apparently there's some sort of a story with the scaffolding having been up for 30 or 40 years and seemingly never being completed. But there's a beautiful look at the cityscape as the sun's setting. A really, really gorgeous way to kind of wrap up our first full day in Europe, loving our time together in Brussels. And before we wrap the tour, I will show you the Ferris wheel one more time, as well as a statue or sculpture by an artist named Luc Van Soom. It's called In the Clouds, and you'll see 3 people with their head in the clouds. And he writes that clouds know no borders. They are free. They roam our planet without any need for justification or accountability, which is kind of cool with it being right next to the court. So believe it or not, 20 euros what we tipped our guide, and that was far more than anybody else. I don't know if that's a European thing or what, but then we ordered up a Bolt to get back to the Menninger city center. And then you're about to see 2 very exhausted folks close out the day, day 1. All right, we are recapping. We can't even decide if it's day 2 or day 1. This is our second sleep, our first sleep in Europe after our travel day. But we're exhausted, so we got on our first plane about 23 hours ago and slept probably 4 to 5 hours total. You might have 6 with the train.
Yeah.
But yeah, so recapping our first, well, it's not even our first full day in Europe. Recapping today, so flew into Amsterdam, killed 2 hours there, then came to Brussels, took a 2-hour nighttime walking tour, which was every bit of 2 hours. So recapping, best thing we did today, you'd say what?
Just wandering through like the little streets and alleyways of Brussels.
Of Brussels. Yeah, when we got to that Grand Plaza, and looking around, yeah, super, super gorgeous. I didn't expect that out of Brussels. Best thing you ate today? I should preface this by saying this is not a big food day. We had like one meal.
What, like both of those pastries I ate on the plane, or on the train, one was like meat-filled pastry, and then the other one was like a braided like cheese type of pastry.
Yeah, we're trashy. We like to go into grocery stores and get ready to go food, and it's usually pretty decent. I think I have to say the mussels.
Yeah.
Mussels and fries. Yeah, they were good. Fries were good too. I don't think you need to come to Brussels for mussels or fries, but it was both good, so we'll chalk it up with that. And the weirdest thing for me that happened today was we had to get euros, and it was very difficult to find an ATM. So,
like borderline impossible.
yeah. Especially when you're exhausted and you're tired of looking at your phone in a crazy city and you're late for a tour where you've got to tip somebody. So that's probably the weirdest thing that happened. But I guess the only other weird thing would be trying to pack as much movement into one day as we packed in. So we're done. We're done in Brussels tomorrow at noon and back up to Amsterdam, where at least we're steady for almost 48 hours. 2 nights.
And we have plenty of things to go to.
But nothing too crazy. So we'll be back later. With that, welcome to day number 3 as we go in reverse from Brussels back to Amsterdam. All right, welcome to day 2. We're at the Menninger City Central, kind of a hostile hotel in Brussels. We're going to pack up and get started with the day. It's supposed to rain, but you'll figure out what we're going to do for the next couple hours. Next train out of here is going to be in 3.5 hours. So wanted to get a postcard to send that and wanted to maybe check out the Atomium, but we'll see where we go. Well, we decided to hit up the Atomium, which is about 50 minutes away. It was 9 a.m. It opened at 10, so we decided to cross the street, and we got on the 51 tram towards Stad. That was about a 20-25 minute total venture over there. Here's a look at the inside of the tram experience in Brussels. You can see it's a little dirty, a little bit dank, but that's okay. We got there comfortably. We got there cheap. And then we had about a 10-minute walk and kind of a bit of drizzle. Here's an overhead of where we were dropped off, right by a big stadium. We'll actually cross right past an Olympic training facility as well. Kind of a cool walk over, but definitely a dreary day as we stopped and took a little bit of a selfie and walked the rest of the way. It was really exciting to see the Atomium in the distance, ever getting closer and closer. And I lied. That's actually the Belgian Olympic Committee's headquarters. There's a soccer club right next to it, a planetarium nearby, a cool little walkover. This is us rolling up to the Atomium. We're probably saying that wrong. But the major, sculpture park / observation tower in Belgium. Here it is right here. All right, so I'm no expert, but the Atomium was opened in 1958 for the Brussels World Fair. It's a combination of the word atom and aluminum. It has a bunch of these spheres that are made presumably out of aluminum that you can take up and go to an observation tower and then go to different levels as you're about to see. Really cool, but we were the first to get there in line at 10 a.m. Other folks were lined up to buy tickets. You can do that in advance or to drop off backpacks, which we just had a little bag, so we're good to go to be at the front of the line. Maddie told me she hates my voiceover, so after I stopped crying, I decided to limit it. Here's the elevator going up. I'll let you experience that. And then exiting onto the main panoramic view. So in spite of the dreary day, some awesome views, especially of all those solar panels being put up on that building. Here's some facts. You kind of go back down on an elevator and then come back upstairs in escalators. Look at that. 3 escalators, 80 steps, 167 steps to get down, and then we're back down the elevator. Kind of different. After that elevator all the way back down, then you head back up to some of the other spheres via escalator and stairs, which I'll show you, and a couple of exhibits along the way. And this is all their music, kind of an Epcot vibe to it, if you ask me. I'll switch away from their music, but here's a couple more scenes of what we experienced at the Atomium. We take a couple of selfies, and then we buy a postcard and order up a Bolt, a rideshare vehicle back to the hotel to check out. The postcard I wrote in the back of the Bolt says, "Hello from Brussels. Things are going great. We love you and miss you. Give Henley a hug from us. See you soon. Brian and Maddie." And after checking out of the hotel, we headed over to a B-Post, the Belgian post office, where we had to take a little deli counter ticket number, wait for a ticket to be called, and then it was $3.25 for an international stamp to get the postcard back home. Then it was back through the rainy streets of Brussels, onto the subway, into the Brussels Midi station to wait for our train to Amsterdam. With an hour to kill, we felt like we had to get a Belgian waffle at the train station. Unfortunately, Haagen-Dazs was the only place that was available, so here goes.
The first bite, they're testing my lactate, so I'm not able to taste it.
You took your lactate?
No, I'm saying I need to.
Okay.
Wow, this cutlery is really good.
Food-friendly wooden fork. Good. 1 to 10.
Really good. Like a 9.
The dairy, not local Haagen-Dazs. So we've had waffles in Belgium. Kind of.
And fries.
Waffles and fries, yeah. And beer.
Well, I cheated and got a banana Nutella crepe. I also struggled with the wooden cutlery, but soon enough it was time to head back up the escalator onto the platform and get on our train to Amsterdam. Of course, taking pictures for Mom along the way. And after about 90 minutes on a dreary but relaxing train ride, we were back at Schiphol Airport to head up and use our Amsterdam travel card to head a couple of stops away to head to the Hyatt Place Amsterdam Airport. As our bus rolls up, we did learn an important lesson the hard way. The Amsterdam travel card allegedly provides access to all buses, trains, trams, and subways within Amsterdam. However, if you look at the fine print, for whatever reason, it's only bus 397, which is from the airport to downtown. So we did have to pay $2.04 for a bus ticket, but that was fine. Our stop was called Hoofddorp, which was, of course, fun to say every time. Kind of stopped at this overpass, then had to go back downstairs and walk right around half a mile. Of course, they were playing the Euros, so as we checked in, signs were up of the upcoming games, but soon enough, we're headed up the elevator to our room. Let me know in the comments section if you're at all like me, but I find airport hotels to be a very good value. A little bit annoying from a transport standpoint. You got to move around to get to the city center, but great value. And then the other thing is great amenities that you're used to in Americanized hotels. But let's take a quick tour.
Its place. Let's see. That's nice. They actually have washcloths. They never did this time. Fucking was brand new, doesn't it? Water. These are big twins. Okay. Maybe they're 2 bowls. Good enough, nice enough. We are here, room 701 at the Hyatt Place Schiphol Airport. Is that how you say it? Schiphol? Something like that?
As we were once again debating how to pronounce Schiphol Airport, we found ourselves in a hotel finally. What we knew for sure is that in a few short hours, we had to be back in downtown Amsterdam to experience the Van Gogh Museum. So here we go. Do want to pre-buy your tickets to the Van Gogh Museum, and I highly recommend getting the audio tour along with it. We were able to do that about a week in advance for $55, and the selfie to mom, and then we began the tour. Don't worry, no voiceover, just a montage. Here we go. Yeah, if you're like me and you're not an art history major, don't fret. You'll love this museum. You can see this lady's looking at brush strokes under a microscope. It's a great interactive museum, especially with the audio tour. You just go up to a picture and you punch in a number, and it'll give you the history of the painting and some background about Van Gogh as well. The atrium of the museum does have kind of that immersive experience in some of those traveling Van Gogh exhibitions, but all in all, this was a great museum to visit. Not at all like the Louvre, where everybody's standing in front of the Mona Lisa. You'll get the occasional dumb tours that'll just stand in front of a painting and box everybody out, but you can get up close and personal. I highly recommend the Van Gogh Museum. It was a highlight of our day for sure. And after that great experience, I was able to snag a reservation at the Seafood Bar 6 minutes away, a raw bar and restaurant. They were celebrating their first anniversary, so we were able to toast with some complimentary champagne. As we scanned the restaurant and the menu, it became clear we had to get the seafood tower, the Fruit de Mer Seafood Bar, and it included a bunch of shrimp, mussels, clams, salmon, crab, seaweed salad, crab salad, some snow crab, some lobster, you name it, it was there. A little bit scary, but an experience to be sure. Now, I wouldn't call us the biggest seafood fans in the world. Maddie and I do like shellfish, but there was a lot going on here. A lot of stuff I frankly have never seen. A lot of shrimp completely intact, which I'm also not used to. But we'll give you a quick little scan here as Maddie comes back to the bathroom of everything that was entailed on this particular seafood platter. It looked pretty awesome, but at the same time, just a little bit scary. When Maddie was about 10 years old, we were in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, and I bet her $20 she couldn't eat a raw oyster. Well, she proved me wrong. I wished I would have bet her $20 this time. Well, even if that didn't go down, most of the rest of the food did, and we enjoyed most of it. Not necessarily all of it, but it was an experience, and we had a good time. Soon enough, we were headed back to the Hyatt Place Amsterdam Airport. As you can see, we passed a couple of mini cars, and then we completely messed up in two regards. First, we found out that if you want to stop a bus in Amsterdam in the evening, you got to wave them down, otherwise they drive right past. And then we forgot to recap our day, so we did that the next morning.
And we never recapped yesterday. So recapping yesterday, So the best thing we did was
Oh, the Van Gogh Museum.
Van Gogh Museum, by far. Well worth it. We were there for probably an hour and a half. But really cool, and highly recommend the audio tour. That was a great way to maximize your time there. A lot of good backstories. And there was even some interaction you could do on the little tablets they gave you. So that was cool. Best thing we ate yesterday, you'd say?
The crab salad at the Seafood Bar.
Crab salad was great. The rest of it was probably creepy for us. I don't know, for me. Chilled seafood. Yeah, it was good. Good experience. Belgian waffle.
Delicious.
Delicious. So maybe a close second. And then the strangest thing we saw yesterday.
Is that for certain buses in Amsterdam, you have to wave them down or else they won't stop at the stop you're seated at.
Yeah, when we were leaving that museum area, we were waiting for our bus, 397, to take us back to the airport area where we're staying, and drove right past us. And two, I think, German tourists went running after the bus. Nice lady came over and said, hey, in Amsterdam, you've actually got to flag down buses, especially when it's slower, or they're just going to keep on rolling. So that's what we learned yesterday. But right now, we're going back up there to that overpass to get on train 397 to go to the Anne Frank house. So looking forward to that. We'll check in later.
So join us next time as we debrief the somber Anne Frank house, have some pancakes. I know it's a little bit lighthearted. Hit the streets on a cool bike tour through the streets of Amsterdam. Kill a charcuterie board before we take a little bit of a Midwest road trip. And then wrap it up with some stoop waffles. See you next time.